Hi, so today I am going to have this nice, interesting conversation that I was having with somebody on Facebook. So, conversation came about regarding the issue of old age people's homes and stuff like that. And I think it's a good idea. I genuinely think it's a good idea. I was talking to a friend recently, and she said she wishes that we would embrace it, not as a way of dumping our parents there, because that's what people think. People want to tend to think, oh, we are black, we don't dump our parents in places. So, not as a way of dumping our parents there, but as a way of keeping the parents in a safe place. Because if they are there, if the old age homes are there and they're regulated, then they can, the parents can live in them and they can have activities and basically live their normal lives, which is not what happens when you, for example, leave them in the village and hire somebody who trained, um, is not trained to take care of them. When they have diseases like, I don't know, hypertension, diabetes, um, memory loss, Alzheimer's, all those problems that come with old age, then you're leaving them with somebody who doesn't really know much about handling all the situations. Sometimes it's just not healthy for them. And if they're still, some might be wanting their independence and they want to live alone, but then they keep forgetting to take their medication and stuff like that. So I just think that it's something worth thinking about. So while we were having that conversation, the conversation of black tax came about. And I don't know how real this is. I mean, for some people, I think it is there. I think there are some things that we are expected to do. I remember one time I was talking to somebody about, we were discussing, I think it was, I would say we were about three or four Africans and a few white friends from, yeah. So we were discussing just basically about our salaries. And we were all complaining about how we are feeling like we are not paid enough for what we do. Well, of course, nobody feels like they're paid enough for what they do. And so people started talking about what they're struggling with. And I think at some point, the Africans started looking at each other like, okay, I think you guys are overpaid. We are underpaid because they were like, ah, I have to send money to my parents. I have to pay for my sister whose husband left her. I have to pay for my nephews and nieces. Oh, I have another small sister who's still in high school. And those people are looking at us like, how is that your problem? It's your sister. Why are you paying school fees for your sister? So, it's something that some people cannot relate to because they believe parents' responsibility is to raise their child. Once you're old enough, you're on your own. A sister whose husband disappeared, how is that your problem? They don't really know all this, in a way. So some of these things, so as we were discussing it, I remembered that, okay, fine, so we do talk about black tax, and is it really a bad thing or is it a good thing? Or is it just something that it's a myth? It's a social media myth. Okay, so I think one of the biggest things that many people in my generation are going to be faced with is the fact that many of us, whether you live in Kenya or in Nigeria or in the US or wherever you live, many of us, when our children are grown up, they are not going to be taking us to live in their houses with them the way we saw our mothers doing for our grandmothers and our grandfathers. That's not going to happen. Many of our children, the age that's, or I mean, if you're in your 40s and you have children, or in your 50s and you have children, chances are those children are not going to take you in to live with them. And chances are also they are not going to have that. They are not even going to be, many of them will not be able to do that because, number one, a long time ago, like the age of my father, um, they finished school and got jobs immediately. So they were not, whether they were rich or not, they were able to afford to have um they were able to feed their families and do all that. Now, the difficulties in getting jobs is getting more and more, and the time it takes for somebody to actually get a job is increasing. So many of the times it takes longer, and people end up spending the little savings that they might have had still taking care of their children when their children are in the 20s and sometimes even early 30s. Also, people are getting more married more interracially and interculturally, intertribal. There's a lot more mixed marriages that are happening than there used to be 50, 60, 50, 40 years ago. And for this reason, this is a mixture of cultures. So if I have a husband who's been raised in a family where your nuclear family is your only family, your extended family is not really that important, how am I going to start explaining to this person that, listen, my cousin has moved to Switzerland and she doesn't have anywhere to stay, so she needs to come and stay with us? How does that conversation go? It's not something that's easy to bring up. So so what happens is people need to realize that, in as much as I am not telling anybody not to take care of their parents, please do not tell me that I have said you should not take care of your parents, and do not say that anybody who says this is saying stop taking care of your parents. If you have the means to take care of your parents, go ahead and do it. What I'm trying to say is, do not take care of your parents with the expectation that your children will take care of you. If they can do it, then well and good. But if they can't do it, then consider the fact that they just might not be able to, or they just might not want to. I feel like people, and then there's always the argument of, oh, but your parents took care of you. Hey, I take care of my children because it's my responsibility. I gave birth to them. I chose to have them. I did not choose to be born. So I don't think that argument of they did this for you, so you have to do this for them actually holds water. I believe that we take care of our parents because we love them and we are grateful, not because it's an obligation. It should not be an obligation. And I think that's where the pain comes in, because when it starts being an obligation, and some parents actually make this an obligation. I know a friend who every day she gets her salary, her mother calls her and starts calling her names and telling her, oh, you haven't sent me my money, what's wrong with you? If her salary is a little bit late, sometimes she even misses paying some bills just so she can send money to her mother, who has decided she wants to have an extreme lifestyle because her daughter is abroad. And so sometimes it is abuse. And the mother was like, oh, you know how much sacrifices I have made to get you to university? Do you know how much I suffered to do this and this and this? And you're like, I need to enjoy my money. She is so guilt tripped, and she feels like she is stuck because her mother was a single mother and there are only two children, and she feels like she is stuck. So both she and her sister sent so much money to their mother that her sister's marriage actually broke because of that, and she is scared of getting married because she's like, nobody's going to understand this. The mother has to drive the latest cars, the mother has to do, so basically there are parents who actually abuse it. They abuse the fact that, listen, I was a single mother, I suffered, I did this, sleepless nights, diapers, oh, not even diapers, cloth nappies. All this is brought up all the time anyway. So some people just guilt trip you. Then, of course, they always throw in the Bible. You have to honor your parents, and somehow honoring means money. I don't know why. Can't just respect them and listen to their advice. You have to pay. So basically, when you have spent all your money, and I think that's the reason why I'm so passionate about people being able to invest, because I think the more you invest, the more you have money put aside for your retirement, for whatever you will need when you're older, and that way you do not have to rely on your children. So by all means, go ahead, help as many people as you want, help as many, but also make sure that you have something that is going to be bringing you an income in your old age, so that you do not have to rely on your children. They can help you if they want to, but don't make it the obligation for them to do it. At least try and break the cycle. Let them have something for their children. Let them have something that they can, because if they're spending all their money on you, that means the next generation has to take care of them, and then the next generation, somebody has to break the cycle. So if you are in a position, hoping you are, and you're learning about investments, I don't, it's just a little bit, just a little bit here, a little bit there, something that you say, okay, fine, this I am going to be putting aside this amount just for my retirement. I'm sure your children will appreciate it when you tell them, listen, I already have a house. I just need you to pay the electricity bill for me every month. Or I already have everything. I just need you to be giving me, this much every month. It's already something less for them to worry about. And I mean, if they are good children, if you raise them right and they love you, they will of course exceed whatever you were asking them for. But don't make it an obligation to an extent that they start feeling like it's a burden for them. You know how much stress somebody goes through when they have when something happens and you lose your job, and you don't just have yourself to worry about, you have your children to worry about, and then you have your extended family who are also depending on you. And this might be part of the reason why the depression rate and the suicide rate is really going high, because people have just so much. And then another thing you need to realize is people are not having as many children as they used to. So we don't have, for example, we're only two in my family. And so if it was those days when it was 12, 10 siblings, everybody can chip in a little bit. Apparently, not everybody does, but everybody could chip in a little bit. But then when it's just one of these issues of it's only one person in the family, it's a bit harder. So I just hope that people learn that this is one of those things that I don't like the word black tax, because I think it's quite horrible, because I mean, I think it's just something that societies that still hold on to extended families do. And I feel like it's a bit too much, because then it drags the one person who is trying to succeed back a lot. And yeah, if we can just break the cycle, that would be great. So I'm working hard to try and break the cycle for my family. I'm just wondering, what are you doing to try and break the cycle for your family? You're listening to investment advice. How much are you putting aside for your retirement? How much are you putting aside for your children's college? How much are you putting aside for all these extra things that you're thinking about doing? How much?